and welcome. I'm Vida Flores from the League of Women Voters of the Bay Area. Thank you for watching and listening to this candidate forum. This is one of several one-hour-long conversations between candidates running for a seat on the KPFA local board. I'm joined today with our timekeeper, Ann Laser, also from the League of Women Voters from Marin County. Let's see now. KPFA is a listener-sponsored radio station, one of 5 stations of the Pacifica Network, the country's first and only independent national radio network. The views expressed during this program are those of the candidates and not of KPFA. All viable candidates have been invited to attend these discussions. Our format today is after each candidate introduces themselves, we will address one question to each candidate at a time, and then let each of the remaining candidates comment for 30 seconds. They can use that 30-second time to comment or ask a question back to the question answerer. And then if the question answerer, if there is a question, the original question answerer will have 1 minute to comment. We'll go ahead and start today with Christina.
Hi, my name is Christina Huggins, and I'm the current chair of the local station board for KPFA Radio. And I'm doing this work because I've listened since I was 16 and I love the radio station. And we currently have a wonderful board that pretty much we get along very well. We're respectful to each other. Thank you.
Aiko.
Okay, my name is Akio Tanaka, and I'm on the board currently, and also served as a secretary of the PNB in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig?
My name is Craig Dunkerley. I'm from San Jose. I currently serve as a facilitator on the KPFA Community Advisory Board.
Thank you. We'll start the questions with Christina. What is your understanding of independent journalism? Do you think rules around independent journalism require the board to remain out of editorial decisions around news reporting? Why or why not?
Well, I believe that, I know that the bylaws state that we're responsible for making sure that the programming sufficiently lives up to our mission statement for KPFA and lives up to making sure that the things are covered that are supposed to be covered. So essentially, we don't deal in micromanaging the programming. We make sure that the programming lives up to its commitment of providing the community the kind of political and social commentary they have. And independent journalism is critical for that. But the special thing about KPFA is we have no corporate underwriting, no corporate sponsors, so that our people can say what they want without getting a phone call from some corporation saying, what you said it's a problem for our sponsors or whatever. It's an intrinsically important element for KPFA Radio.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Tanaka, you'll have 30 seconds to respond or ask a question.
Well, I think that being an independent journalism means that you're free from business and government influence. And I think anytime there is commentary on the station, which tend to toe the government line or whatever, I think it's duty of members and board to call the management on it and at least give a criticism when those things happen, because we need to remain really independent journalists.
Thank you. Mr. Dunkerley.
Yes, I think that independent journalism, much like my colleagues have said, is journalism that's free of any undue influence from commercial organizations or very narrowly focused groups. Our bylaws do ask us to, as members of the LSB, to be sure our coverage is accurate, objective, and as complete as possible. Independent journalism is truly and at its best is a tall order, but it's always one that we should shoot for.
Thank you. Mr. Tanaka, the next question is for you. What makes KPFA Pacifica unique when compared to other listener-supported media?
Well, I think the fundamental difference that KPFA has from the beginning was the name Pacifica is for peace. It is mainly set out to make sure that people are informed about that we have to strive for peace. And I think that is something that we strive for. And aside from that, the listener-supported model assures that we don't have any undue influence in carrying out that mission. And so I think that unifies us as far as what our mission, what our station is about.
Thank you. Mr. Dunkerley, you have 30 seconds to respond.
All right. I think KPFA is unique in a wide variety of ways, but as founders of the listener-supported radio format and model, I think that's one of our greatest achievements or contributions to media. And because we are independent and of all commercial support, we can be free of any undue influence from them. I also think we're unique, much as Akio mentioned, because we focus on prioritizing social justice and promoting peace.
Thank you. Ms. Huggins?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I believe that I'm in concert with my two fellow board members here, and that what makes us unique is our emphasis on peace, that we have a definite emphasis on peace, and we're against racism and against sexism, and which to me dovetail with peace. And the aspect of the reporting being not having to deal with any kind of corporate sponsors means that our reporters can say what the truth is without concerns about being called in on the carpet for what they're saying.
Thank you. The next question will go to Mr. Dunkerley. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do you think should be the role of unpaid staff in the station, and what, if anything, would you change about the status quo?
Unpaid staff is actually another unique feature of KPFA. About 90% of our staff is non-paid staff. This, I think, gives us a much closer relationship with the community, which is one of the ways that we're different from some other public radio stations. That and because of our independence and our lack of corporate sponsorship, we're also much more open to cutting-edge thought and the expression of unpopular views. The unpaid staff is really the lifeblood of KPFA. The whole organization works as a team. We have paid professionals for positions like general manager and program director and so on. But our unpaid staff are all of the many sort of worker bees, perhaps you might say, that really help the station function, that make the station what it is.
Thank you. Ms. Huggins, 30 seconds.
The unpaid staff are a treasure, and I think the reason KPFA is so successful is because it has such great unpaid staff who are doing programming. Along with the paid staff, they work together really well to basically make a really good structured ability to put out news in an excellent way.
Thank you. Mr. Tanaka, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think that unpaid staff, just by the very fact that they come and work unpaid, means that they're dedicated and they're very, very involved in the issues that are being on the program. And I think that speaks for itself, that they are a very, very valuable resource for us. And then although they have had issues with the paid staff, especially during economic hard times when paid staff would be a little bit strained, I think that one of the functions that we should try to do is to make sure that paid and unpaid staff are working for the same goal, and the management should do whatever it can to working together is a win-win situation for the station. So that's the way I look at it.
Thank you very much. The next question will be for Ms. Huggins for 2 minutes. What areas of policy do you think are most in need of development, and what would you prioritize to improve station operations and functionality?
Well, we're actually lucky enough at KPFA to have a station manager that has an extensive background in radio, and he's been making some very important upgrades in the quality of our technical equipment and communication between people. I believe that as far as policies go, there have been vast improvements in our policies at KPFA per se. I think the main question that we have is trying to look at the bylaws, which are very difficult to work with. The Pacifica bylaws, which are extensive and arcane and ambiguous at times as far as being able to understand what they mean directing station policy. And that's why I bring up the Pacifica bylaws, because it's the umbrella organization, and so the bylaws determine a lot of the way policies roll out in every individual station. And it's probably, we actually had our interim executive director already made a commitment to the Attorney General for the Charitable Organizations of California to restructure our bylaws to become more useful, more usable is probably a better word for it. And that would probably be the more critical element for anything that I can see. Because if the organization can't function effectively, if the actual bylaws get in the way of our effectiveness, then that should be paramount for all of us in dealing with how we're going to be effective as every single radio station that falls under the Pacifica umbrella. So that would be my most basic, elemental, fundamental concern. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Tanaka, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I have a couple of points about policy making. I think that current station, we need to have a good programming policy so that every paid and unpaid staff are fully aware of how programs are being terminated or added. So there'll be no conflict of, disconcerted opinions. The other one is the economic policy, how to develop the fundraising. Our mission is to be listener supported, and there's always a temptation to get any money that's out there.
Thank you.
And we have to be very careful about that.
Thank you. Mr. Dunkerley?
Yes, I think our policies and procedures at the station obviously very important, and I think it would be helpful if those policies and procedures were more readily available to the general public and our listening public. I think it would tend to help avoid misunderstandings and unnecessary conflict if those were made available. So that's one change I think that might be helpful to the station. Also, the LSB is in an advisory capacity, and we should always work collaboratively with the general manager.
This next question is for Mr. Tanaka for 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. In 1999, one of the issues which fueled the crisis was the consideration by the then National Board to sell one or more of the Pacifica stations. Do you consider selling one or more of the 5 Pacifica stations as an option to resolve the financial problems? Why or why not?
Well, I think that is a totally difficult question to answer, because obviously that's be the last thing that we should consider is to sell any of our stations. However, we are in a very dire financial crisis, and I don't know enough about the situation of what kind of a pathway we're going to find. So unless I find more information, I couldn't weigh in one way or the other on that.
Thank you. Mr. Dunkerley, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. Yes, I also think whether or not KPFA or Pacifica should have to sell any of its assets, it's one of a number of very difficult decisions that are going to have to be made. Fortunately, the Pacific National Board has hired some very knowledgeable professionals, that can go through our overall financial picture and help us make those kind of decisions. I think it would be premature for us to make an ironclad answer to that question right now, but thankfully we've got qualified professionals to help us.
Thank you. Ms. Huggins, 30 seconds.
I'm currently opposed to selling any of the stations. I believe that there are other options available. I don't know where we'll find ourselves down the road in 18 months approximately when the balloon payment for the $3.25 million loan comes due. That will be a moment of crisis if we cannot find a way to get more income at this point and stabilize the stations that are struggling right now. We're lucky that KPFA is currently financially stable and we're making our bills and everything, but there are a couple of other stations that are in struggle. I do think that some of the stations in trouble are very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you. And this last question will go to Mr. Dunkerley. How are programming decisions, removal of programs, addition of new programs, schedule modifications, and more currently made in your opinion? What criteria should be used to make programming decisions, determine what new programs get selected and what programs get eliminated, how present programs might be changed?
Yes, there are a number of things that I wrote down that I wanted to go over. First of all, I think our listening audience, their views and opinions on our programming are extremely important. Part of the function of our Community Advisory Board is to seek that input, to get that input, which we can then pass on to the local station board and management. So that's very important. I also think it's important that our audience know about impending decisions on any significant changes in the program. I think this would help to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings or conflict. I was very interested in a show that was canceled in the last year or so. So I paid very close attention to the local station board, the current board's investigation into that. They did determine that the station does have fixed policies and procedures for dealing with programs like that. They also determined that management did follow those policies and procedures. That said, I think it would be helpful, again, if those policies and procedures were posted on the website somewhere so that audiences could see what they are and have a better understanding what sort of program guidelines and policies and procedures the management follows. I should note also that the LSB only has an advisory role, so management is actually tasked with the responsibility for making these decisions. We have a certain oversight responsibility. And I think it's also helpful to keep in mind that when it comes to the details of these personnel matters, that various federal regulations make it impossible or illegal for the management to share those, partly out of respect for the personnel's privacy.
Thank you very much. Ms. Huggins, you have 30 seconds.
I completely concur with what my fellow person here is running said. I think that it's good to have input from the community. I know that there actually are policies and procedures that they're delineated in the Pacifica Employee Handbook. I know it's electronically available, but I'm not sure if it's posted anywhere. But that's something that I'll ask about and see if it is not posted, that it will be posted, so that people can have a deeper understanding of the way these decisions are reached.
Thank you. Mr. Tanaka?
Yeah, I think that this issue came recently with the cancellations of Guns and Butter, and other people are concerned about that. And it was two unfortunate things that happened. There was a very, very concerned group of listeners who objected to one particular program. And then the conference, the discussion between Bonnie and Quincy, the GM, instead of diffusing the situation, I think it became more contentious, and that's the reason why the situation ended up the way it was. But
thank you. Thank you. Before we have our closing statements, I wanted to let you know that ballots will be mailed on August the 15th and need to be returned by October the 15th. Please visit elections.pacifica.org for more information on the KPFA election. We'll have the 1-minute closing statements in reverse order, so we'll start with Mr. Dunkerley.
All right. Thank you. My name is Craig Dunkerley. I'm part of a coalition of candidates called United for Independent Radio, and we're running to be on KPFA's local station board. Our focus is on setting aside differences. We have them, but we think it's important to set those aside and sort of keep our eyes on the prize, work together to ensure the financial health of Pacifica Network and preserving its core mission of speaking truth to power. More information about that can be found on our website at unitedforindependentradio.com. Personally, I've served as facilitator of the KPFA Community Advisory Board. I've also helped advise the local station board on parliamentary procedure. I have many years of experience in training in mediation, conflict resolution, and also I have a background in financial planning. Being from San Jose, I can also add a little more geographic diversity to our board. Most of my personal activism has been in the area of getting money out of politics.
Thank you.
We live in dangerous times, and I hope you'll consider voting for Craig Dunkerley.
Thank you. Mr. Tanaka?
Sure. My name is Akio Tanaka, and Pacifica is facing an existential crisis right now, just at the time when our community needs us the most. And I don't have an answer to an immediate crisis, but to work toward a solution, I think that we need people who are willing to put in the time and work together. I'm a retired electronic engineer, so I have the time. And in 2017, I was secretary of both the PNB, the National Board, and the Audit Committee. And so I'm familiar with the workings of both the local and national board. I think I can still bring something to the table, and I'm willing to give it another try. Again, my name is Akio Tanaka, and I'm running with other people on the United for Independent Radio. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Huggins?
My name is Christina Huggins, and I've been a listener since 1965 of KPFA. I was formerly first executive vice president of CWA Local 9415, which is out of Oakland, California. I was on the Alameda Central Labor Council. I've been on the Marin County Labor Council many moons ago. I've been on the board of San Quentin, which it's called the House, which helps people who are coming to visit people at San Quentin, accommodate them, and it takes care of their children when they go in. I did that for a couple of years. I was on the steering committee of Marin People for Peace for 4 years. I have a lot of peace work. I've done work on the Free Chile movement with prisoners that were tortured, and we brought back their stories and stuff and told them here. KPFA is a vital resource, especially at this point in our country where we're looming towards fascism. It's a very scary time, and to have an independent news outlet such as KPFA is a treasure.
Thank you. I'm Vita Flores, and on behalf of myself and Ann Laser from the League of Women Voters, we'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. You can find other candidate forums on our website. We hope that you enjoyed this conversation. Please visit KPFA and watch or listen to the remainder of the candidates' conversations. The views expressed during this program are those of the candidates, not of KPFA. Thank you for joining us.